For thousands, if not millions of years, people have stared up at the stars and wondered what's out there. The answer? They've been here all along. The Bible isn't just religious text, it's the written record of an advanced civilization from beyond our world teaching a primitive one. Our ancestors called them gods or angels, but they were actually beings with advanced knowledge and technology. Think about this. If you brought a smartphone, a flashlight, and a gun to a tribe in the Amazon rainforest that have never seen modern technology, they would see you as a god with amazing powers. This same idea explains many biblical stories that have confused people for centuries. To understand how all this makes sense, we first have to grasp how big our universe really is. Imagine standing on a beach looking at all the grains of sand beneath your feet. Now think about every beach on Earth. Amazingly, there are actually more stars in space than there are grains of sand on all Earth's beach combined. There is an estimate about 10 to the power of 22 stars. That's a 1 followed by 22 zeros. Around those stars are countless planets, billions upon billions of them. Just as we once learned, Earth isn't the center of the solar system, we now know that Earth isn't the only planet that can support intelligent life. With such huge numbers, Earth simply cannot be the only home of intelligence. The math makes this very clear. We are part of a universe full of life. The word alien came from the Latin word alienus, meaning belonging to another. In Old French, it became alien, simply meaning strange or foreign. Even in today's legal language, an alien means someone from another country, a foreigner. Movies and the television have shaped what we think aliens from other planets look like, often showing them as scary invaders. However, the conditions on a planet determine what its life form looks like. Some evolve from ape-like ancestors like humans, others from reptile-like life, or even feline-like ancestors. And just as Earth has good and bad people, other worlds have both friendly and unfriendly beings. The Bible contains many passages clearly describing visitors from beyond our world. Isaiah 60 verse 8 states, "Who are these that fly as a cloud, and as the doves to their windows?" This verse describes a spacecraft flying like clouds across the sky. The windows mentioned are simply the doors that are opening to these spacecrafts. Even more telling is Job 38 verse 31, which mentions star systems ancient people couldn't possibly have known about without help from advanced beings. It says, "Canst thou bind the sweet influence of Pleiades or loosen the bands of Orion?" The Pleiades star cluster is 444 light years away from Earth, while Orion's belt is 1,344 light years away. How would hunter-gatherers know about stars that far away? Ancient people knew about these specific star formations because visitors from those regions told them. The Bible verses also give hint to the nature of the beings from those star clusters, stating the influence of Pleiades as sweet influences, and the loosening of the bands implies something that has a grip on us, implying a more negative effect from Orion. These weren't just random stars, but specific space landmarks that modern astrologers now know are important. Many biblical references show primitive people trying to describe advanced technology without the words to do so correctly. A good example comes from 2 Kings chapter 2 verse 11. "And it came to pass, as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went up in a whirlwind into heaven." What would a primitive person call a spacecraft with fire coming out the bottom? A chariot of fire is a good way to describe it. The horses of fire were the flames or thrust visible beneath the craft, while the whirlwind that lifted Elijah upward was a process similar to being beamed up like in Star Trek. The biblical figure Elijah was actually an extraterrestrial visitor living among humans. In 1 Kings 17 verse 1, he appears suddenly with an unusual introduction. Elijah the Tishbite, who was the inhabitant of Gilead. The term Tishbite means stranger or alien, while inhabitants of Gilead means stranger of the high country. So Elijah showed up unexpectedly as a visitor from a distant place high above. Perhaps the clearest description of an alien craft appears in Ezekiel chapter 1 verse 4. "And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself, and a brightness was about it, and out of the midst thereof the color of amber, and out of the midst of the fire." So in modern terms, the whirlwind of the north would be the spacecraft appearing at a fast speed from above. The great cloud is the spacecraft itself. Fire enfolding itself is a self-contained energy or engine system. The brightness about it is a light or energy field. The color of amber is a craft's glow from its heat or thermal energy. In the next verse, Ezekiel goes on to describe the appearance of the living creatures. He states, "Also, out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man." So Ezekiel states that the aliens that came from the craft looked like us. Both Ezekiel and Daniel mention a mysterious man clothed in linen who works with these crafts. Ezekiel chapter 10 verse 2 says, "And he spoke unto the man clothed with linen, and said, Go in between the wheels, even under the cherub, and fill thine hand with coals of fire from between the cherubs, and scatter them over the city. So under the spacecraft was coals of fire, which is reference to burning of the rocks from the craft's engine propulsion system. Now later in Daniel chapter 10 verse 4 to 6, it describes a similar man in linen with unusual features. It states, "Then I lifted up mine eyes, and looked, and behold, a certain man, clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. His body also was like beryl, and his face as the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet like the color to polished brass, and the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude." This describes someone wearing a spacesuit or protective gear, with devices that make your voice sound louder, like a speaker. The face as the appearance of lightning, and eyes as lamps of fire, are describing a helmet with lights, while limbs with polished brass suggest metal or protective coverings. The ancient texts we've looked at today show meetings with advanced beings that our ancestors simply couldn't understand. What they called divine or miraculous was actually advanced technology and visitors from distant worlds. We are now starting to see these biblical stories for what they truly are. As our knowledge grows, we see our world and universe more clearly than ever before. The key to understanding is staying open-minded. When we lock ourselves into firm beliefs saying, "I am this," or "I am that," we get stuck in ways of thinking that stop us from accepting new information. True wisdom comes from being open to ideas that challenge what we already believe. Thank you for joining me on this introductory journey through biblical texts and our connection to being visited from life from other planets. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you found this interesting, like and subscribe so the algorithm will show you similar content in the future. Until next time, keep seeking, keep roaming, and remember, not all who roam are lost. You're right where you need to be.